Well, John Browning, welcome back to another great, fantastic episode of your podcast. How are you?
I am better than I was yesterday. Not as good as I'm going to be tomorrow.
Well, that's good. You're making progress then. That's awesome.
Right.
I love that. That's a great attitude. That's a great attitude. Hey,
always move forward.
Forward movement. That's right. We don't want to go in reverse.
No.
Say, hey, speaking of going forward and things, retirement plans for business owners are hit and miss many times. They don't have them. And I want to talk today on the podcast about a simple retirement plan for business owners. You got any ideas or thoughts around that?
Well, it's really a timely topic because in many states around the country, basically the entire left coast, the entire sort of Northeast, Illinois is one of the states that has this rule that if you have over 5 employees in your business, you are going to have a retirement plan. And if you don't, you're going to be penalized for it. Now there's various dates, but the one coming up the fastest is September 2022. So a lot of small businesses it's real soon. And it could become a national thing as well. This is something that they've been trying to push through on a national level as well, because 72% of workers in small businesses are not covered by any type of retirement plan. Because let's face it, those of us who have run small businesses, yourself included, know that first of all, it's the scariest thing in the world to think about, right? To make sure you get all the paperwork right, the filings right, and then ERISA, the employment retirement. I was like, oh my gosh, don't get me, audited by those guys. You don't want to mess with it, and it takes away from actually being able to do business.
It does. It takes profits and revenue and time and energy and all of that.
Right. So if there's a couple ways you can address this though.
Okay.
So you can go out and get a copy of IRS publication 560.
Okay.
And read it top to bottom.
Can I get a root canal first? I mean, seriously?
So here's the deal. I've read it, or I've read most of it, and I had to keep waking myself up, and I kind of find it somewhat interesting. So I can't imagine being a small business owner that enjoys what they're doing and having to try and figure that out.
No, thanks.
But there are numerous ways that you can address that by calling somebody like Guardian Ruck Wealth. We will help you through this process. We're not going to administer it for you, but we can put you in touch with people that's exactly what they do all day long. Yeah. And yes, there's a fee for it. That is more than well worth it. Much better than going to the state and either paying the penalty, or the states actually generally have a program that you can just sort of sign up for.
Right.
And you know what they say about easy? It's not normally better.
That's right. That's right.
I have yet to find a state that could, let's just say run Social Security all that well.
That's right. Yeah.
Or something, a government that can run a retirement program well. I don't think it exists, but that's just my opinion, and you may have your own. So
that's great.
But there are a few different ways to go. So the first one that everybody tends to jump to is, I've got to figure out how to do a 401k.
Right.
Not necessarily. That's probably the more difficult one to sort of figure out and do the administration for and follow all the Department of Labor rules for and all that. It works. You might want to think about a 401k if you have, say, over 100 employees.
Okay.
And you don't have a retirement plan yet. That's probably the way you would want to go. But if you've got, 5 employees, if you've got, 50 employees, or even up to, closer to 100, you can consider things like a simple SIMPLE. It is actually, that's the name of it.
That's great.
IRA. And those are
simple.
fair, relatively speaking, those are simple. You
Okay.
still have to kind of explain it to your employees, and having owned a small business, I know that can be a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got to fill out the paperwork. I know that can be somewhat of a challenge too with a small business, but overall, that's a simple way to go and become compliant. And again, this is something that we can help you with. There's what they call a Keogh plan, which hardly anybody has heard of. But if you're in a business where it's closer and akin to a pension plan, if you remember those way back when.
Oh yeah.
Still, if you're a city worker or work for the government, you still probably have a pension, right? Doesn't really exist for most of us, but they're still around. A Keogh is kind of like that for a small business, and it allows you, if you're doing really well and you're making a lot of money, it allows you to contribute a lot more than, say, a simple IRA.
Okay.
There's also what they call a SEP, and SEP IRA, which also allows you to contribute quite a bit more than, say, a simple IRA. So if you're doing well, and you've got the money to contribute, there's reasons to do each one of these different things, which would make for way too long of a podcast if we got into all of those things. But just as an example, so 401k, you can contribute $19,500 per year.
Is this per person, per person. Business owner? Okay, so
yeah. All right. Now, if you're a simple IRA, it's much lower. It's the same thing as with a regular IRA. So if you're under 50, it's 6. If you're over 50, you got to catch up a whole, $1,000 more, 7,000. Hey, I always say every little bit counts.
Every dollar counts, man. Yeah.
Right. With a Keogh, you can contribute a lot more. We're talking in the hundreds of thousands and that type of thing.
Okay.
But there are rules when you get
always rules.
How you can do it, who can be eligible for all that kind of stuff, and having somebody to watch over that for you is it's not even an option, right? It's not a do it yourself.
That's right.
I don't think a lot of things are do it yourself, and I've been guilty of doing it myself when I shouldn't have done it myself. Yep. But this is one of those things, definitely.
Yeah.
Don't try and do it yourself.
No.
But you've got to be aware of it, though. If you're a small business owner, we just recently brought on a dentist office, and we've set up a simple IRA for them and all their employees. And it's running, and they are now compliant.
There you go. So which is really interesting, because there may be a lot of business owners who are not compliant with the laws of their state, and they don't know what they may not even know it, but B, if they do know it, they don't know what to do. And that's why they should reach out to you, John, and you could guide them, you can counsel them, you could connect them with the right people. That's the other thing about you is with Guardian Rock Wealth, it's not just you, but you've got this whole cadre of people that you have. You've got attorneys and different people on staff and CPAs and things that you can bring to the table. So it's not like somebody calls you and you're like, well, I can't help you, goodbye. It's like, no, well, I know the guy, I can connect you with these pieces to put it together, because you do want, if you're working if you have a business and you're in a state, you need to be compliant with what other state rules are, whether you like it or not. If you don't like it, move.
Or not. Yeah, I don't really like paying taxes either, but
right. So it's having somebody like you in the corner, which I think that's, when you tell people, John, I'm a financial advisor. Well, yes, you are, but you're so much more than that. Right. And it's things like this, it's conversations like this, especially when you get into business and running businesses, it gets really complex really fast. And you need somebody like John to guide you, to sit down with you and say, here are the 5 options you basically have based on your situation. I'd recommend one of these 2. Let's talk about that. That's the discussion, right? They're never going to get financial advice listening to this podcast, because that's not what we do. We have conversations, which hopefully are really fun and educational. And teaching them to reach out to you and say, here's your next step. Reach out to John, guardianrockwealth.com. Talk to him, schedule a call, get a copy of his book, text the word life to 21,000 using your cell phone, and just connect with him. Pick his brain. First conversation is just amazing, but then he wants to ask a lot of questions, because it's about a relationship. Everybody's different. And every business is different too, I'm sure.
Yeah, every business is definitely different. Yeah.
Yeah. So a simple retirement plan for your business, for business owners, that's an option. There are lots of options. And one option is to go back and read that IRS 590. Is that what it was?
560. Yep. IRS publication 560.
Yeah. Well, I've got to go to bed. So that might be good reading. If you don't want to do that, reach out to John Browning, Guardian Rock Wealth, or text LIFE to 21,000. And he probably won't put you to sleep because he actually likes all this stuff. And he has a very unique way, I think, of explaining it. You do a lot of analogies and word pictures and things, which I really appreciate because heavy finance is not my strength, but you make it at least understandable and somewhat fun. So reach out to John Browning, have a great conversation with him, and let him help you build a life and not just a portfolio. And that happens to be the name of your Amazon bestselling book. So get a copy of that when you reach out to John Browning. GuardianRockWealth.com. John Browning, thanks again for being here. And I hope you continue to get better and better every day.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.